Look, can we all just agree that plans for using hydrogen as a fuel are a complete disaster and we should abandon them immediately? This story is just another shocking example of a delusional project that has been greenlit by net zero ideologues without any proper scrutiny or accountability and has ended up costing the Australian taxpayer billions of dollars. That's billions with a B. Just think how those billions of dollars might have been better spent on health or education, or as one senator suggests, on beefing up Australia's defence budget. Anything would be better than pissing it up the wall on the fantasy of a hydrogen economy. For the uninitiated, you have to consume energy to make hydrogen, like electricity, for example, to split or electrolyse water into its constituent elements, hydrogen and oxygen. The bonds within a water molecule are very strong and require a lot of energy to split them apart. That energy has to come from somewhere else, and you lose some of it in the process. And when you convert the hydrogen back into energy again, there are even more losses there. So you never get back anywhere near what you put in. You may as well have just used the electricity to charge an EV and be done with it. And that's before we even talk about the problems of storage and transmission of the stuff. Enough with the hydrogen delusion. It's over. Welcome back to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer, now Sydney-based YouTuber. If you'd like to support this channel and display your anti-EV credentials to your Tesla-owning neighbours at the same time, why not buy some awesome MGUY merchandise like this mug, this baseball cap, or this t-shirt. Each high-quality item sports the MGUY No EVs sign, and they're all made to order. Perfect for irritating the hell out of your local EV zealots. Visit store.mguy.tv or click the link in the description to check out the full range of products. And of course, you can always just buy me a coffee. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Storing hydrogen is ridiculously complex. You either cool it to about minus 250 Celsius or store it at enormous pressures. And getting it somewhere by means of pipework is even more challenging due to those enormous pressures. And in case that wasn't enough, hydrogen also causes the metal used in tanks and pipes to become brittle, increasing the infrastructure maintenance costs even further. Compare and contrast with a $20 plastic jerry can for storing a few litres of petrol, and you start to see why anyone pushing hydrogen is off their trolley. Before we get on to that appalling waste of taxpayer money, however, there's another similar story of net zero pain from Australia. This time a long-standing industrial site whose new boss wants the place to go green and abandon fossil fuels, but there's a problem. Australia's last paper mill, Boyer, told of insufficient local power for electric conversion. On the banks of Hobart's Derwent River lies Australia's first and now last paper mill. The Boyer mill is a piece of history. It is also reliant on some historical technology, coal burners. Coal-fired boilers have been creating the steam used in the paper manufacturing process since the mill opened in 1941. That steam is used for softening wood chips in the pulping process, but it's primarily used for drying paper in the paper machines. It's critical to our operation, the mill's general manager, Patrick Dooley, said. The mill's new owner, businessman David Mariner, wants to cut off its coal connection and bring in electric boilers. Effectively, that was never the intention of our group, to continue what I think is an act of stupidity, Mr. Mariner said. I think what he's saying there is that continuing to burn coal is an act of stupidity, but not as stupid, I would suggest, as cheerfully abandoning the only source of energy that's actually sufficient to keep your business going. The switch to electric would cut the plant's on-site emissions by about 95%, roughly the same as taking 1/3 of Tasmania's cars off the road. I'm sure the ABC would love that. There is just one problem: getting the extra electricity needed. Mr. Mariner said he had been told by state-owned power company Hydro Tasmania that it could not supply him with power from the Tasmanian grid due to a lack of availability. Instead, it would have to import electricity from Victoria, which Mr. Mariner said was offered a much higher price. Well, they've obviously closed all the local coal mines in Tasmania, and it now has to be shipped in from elsewhere, just adding to the cost for no benefit. And once the grid becomes reliant on wind, solar and hydro, it is Tasmania, good luck getting that solid 145 megawatts you need. It's just another example of how the climate brain virus just eats away at any kind of common sense. And it eats away thoroughly enough to make intelligent people think that spending almost $100 billion worth of hydrogen projects is somehow a good idea. And of course, it's now collapsed in a heap. International consortium pulls out of $12.5 billion Queensland hydrogen project at Gladstone. Australia's largest green hydrogen project is officially over with the collapse of the international consortium developing the $12.5 billion plant and pipeline in Queensland. Australia's largest green hydrogen project is officially dead, with the collapse of the international consortium developing the $12.5 billion plant and pipeline in Gladstone. The scrapping of the Central Queensland Hydrogen Project CQH2 follows the lack of progress in a near $100 billion pipeline of ambitious proposals in the green hydrogen sector being championed by Anthony Albanese as a future export industry to meet net zero emissions targets, the Australian reported. Queensland state-owned Stanwell Corporation, the lead developer of the Gladstone site, has confirmed it has ended all involvement in the project, which was promoted by former Labor premiers Anastasia Palaszczuk and Stephen Miles. Stanwell has discontinued its involvement in the Central Queensland Hydrogen Project CQH2 and other hydrogen development activities, the company said after being contacted by the Australian about rumours the project had been cancelled. The CQH2 project has been a valuable international collaboration that has provided important technical and commercial knowledge to support the future large-scale commercialisation of renewable hydrogen. The Gladstone project was initially touted as being able to produce up to 200 tonnes of liquefied hydrogen by 2028 and 4 times that by 2031. Its collapse follows a decision in February of the Liberal National Party state government to reject a request by Stanwell for $1.6 billion in funding for the next stage of the project. Well, good on them for refusing to waste yet more taxpayers' money on this white elephant of a project. And like I said, this kind of money should be spent elsewhere, something that will be obvious to anyone not infected with the climate brain virus. Central Queensland-based Senator Matt Canavan, along with others, has long questioned the Albanese government spending billions on green energy projects. In a recent column in this publication, Senator Canavan said Australia should be putting billions more into defence, given the current global situation, rather than chasing net zero projects which were going nowhere. Last week, research from the Institute of Public Affairs showed that the Australian government now spends $9 billion on various green energy schemes that we do not have a lot to show for. Why would we spend billions on a net zero target that almost no other country takes seriously over the defence of our country? Why indeed? But simple logic like that has no effect on the climate zombies like Albo and Bowen, who see everything through a net zero fog, thick enough it seems to obscure the obvious truth that spending billions trying to make Australia net zero when it produces less than 2% of global emissions and China continues to burn coal like there's no tomorrow is the pinnacle of stupidity. But hey, we just voted these fools back in for another 3 years, so there isn't much else to say except this. Sorry folks, you get the government you deserve. Thanks very much for watching, really hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any tips or stories, go there. If you'd like to watch another video, go there. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, go there. And please subscribe to the channel.